An Open Secret 2014. An investigation into accusations of teenagers being sexually abused within the film industry. Director Amy Berg. Writers Amy BergLorien HaynesBilly McMillin. Hollywood. For decades, it's been a beacon of dreams, a place where fame, glamour, and fortune seem just a breakthrough roll away. Countless young performers and their hopeful families have flocked to its gates, believing the stories it sells about success and opportunity. But beneath the dazzling lights and red carpets, a much darker reality has festered. The 2014 documentary An Open Secret, directed by the acclaimed Amy Berg, peels back this glittering facade to expose a deeply unsettling truth. It's a powerful, investigative film that delves into decades of sexual abuse and exploitation of minors within the entertainment industry. More than that, it scrutinizes the very systems that enabled this abuse, allowing it to continue, often unchecked and in plain sight. This isn't a story about a single monster or one isolated crime. It's the story of a culture of silence. The film immediately establishes a chilling pattern. The abuse of young actors isn't a rare or accidental occurrence. It's a recurring nightmare woven into the fabric of the industry. Through the brave testimony of former child actors, insiders, parents, journalists, and advocates, we learn how the very structure of Hollywood places children in incredibly vulnerable positions. They are emotionally, financially, and socially isolated. The path to stardom is paved with auditions, private coaching sessions, and exclusive industry mentoring, events that frequently happen behind closed doors. In these private spaces, the power dynamic is dangerously skewed, and meaningful oversight is almost non-existent. Young hopefuls, eager to please and desperate for their big break, are put in situations where their trust can be easily manipulated. The film makes it clear that this isn't an exception. For many, it's the rule. At the very heart of this investigation is the role of power and access. The people accused in the film are not random strangers. They are influential gatekeepers who hold the keys to a young actor's future. They are managers, casting agents, acting coaches, and producers, the very people who can make or break a career. For a child actor and their family, saying no isn't just turning down an uncomfortable request. It can mean the end of a lifelong dream. The documentary powerfully illustrates how this ambition is weaponized. Dreams are used as leverage, making it incredibly difficult for victims to speak out or even recognize the abuse for what it is. When your entire future seems to hinge on pleasing one powerful person, the lines between professional guidance and personal violation become tragically blurred. With incredible restraint and dignity, survivors come forward to share their stories. They describe a methodical process of grooming, often disguised as professional mentorship. Emotional manipulation is framed as encouragement, and praise is used to create confusion and dependency, even as harm is being inflicted. They speak of the immense fear of retaliation, of not being believed, and of having their careers destroyed before they even begin. For many, the full understanding of what happened to them didn't come until years, sometimes decades, later. An Open Secret handles these accounts with immense care, deliberately avoiding sensationalism. The focus remains on the quiet, devastating, and long-term impact of these experiences, giving a voice to those who were silenced for so long. The psychological consequences of this exploitation are profound and lasting. Experts in the film explain how the trauma of childhood abuse ripples through a person's entire life. It manifests as anxiety, depression, and a deep-seated difficulty in trusting authority figures. For some, it leads to substance abuse as a way to cope with the pain. For many, it results in the complete derailment of their careers and personal lives. We hear from former child actors who struggled for years to rebuild a sense of self and normalcy after leaving the industry. The documentary makes an essential point. The harm doesn't end when childhood does. The scars are carried into adulthood, affecting relationships, self-worth, and the ability to navigate the world. So, why didn't we hear more about this? An Open Secret turns its investigative lens on the role of journalism and media suppression. Journalists reveal how stories about powerful figures in Hollywood were often killed, buried, or actively discouraged. Publications would decline to run explosive pieces due to the threat of expensive lawsuits, pressure from industry advertisers, or the fear of public and professional backlash. Some outlets simply lacked the resources or the will to take on such a formidable and well-protected system. The film argues that this journalistic silence was a form of complicity. It created a protective bubble around predators, allowing them to continue their abuse with little fear of public exposure. Even when allegations did surface, the legal system often failed to deliver justice. The film examines the numerous obstacles that prevented convictions. Statutes of limitations frequently expired before victims were emotionally ready to come forward. A lack of physical evidence made cases difficult to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and the immense pressure and public scrutiny placed on victims who testified was often too much to bear. A central and frustrating theme emerges. Even when accusations were widely known within industry circles, the alleged abusers often continued to work freely, their careers untouched. These whispers and rumors became normalized, a part of the Hollywood landscape that everyone knew about, but no one was held accountable for. The documentary doesn't paint parents, agents, or studios as one-dimensional villains. Instead, it portrays them as participants in a deeply flawed and complex system. Some parents were deliberately misled, their trust exploited just as their children's was. Others felt immense pressure to stay quiet, fearing that speaking up would ruin their child's chances. And some, perhaps blinded by ambition, ignored clear warning signs. An Open Secret poses difficult, essential questions. Who is ultimately responsible for protecting children on a film set? Why were legal safeguards and regulations not properly enforced? And why, for so many years, were the persistent whispers and warnings so consistently ignored by the industry at large? This brings us to the title itself, An Open Secret. The phrase perfectly captures something that is widely known, yet never officially acknowledged. Countless insiders knew the names of certain people to avoid. They knew about the predatory behaviors. They knew the risks that young actors faced, yet very few spoke up openly. Fear of losing their jobs, denial of the severity of the problem, and the all-consuming drive for success created a conspiracy of silence. This culture allowed horrific abuse to hide in plain sight, protected by the very industry that should have been protecting its most vulnerable members. But the film does not end in despair. It closes by pointing toward the beginnings of a cultural shift. Advocates, survivors, and allies call for concrete changes, stronger child protection laws on set, mandatory supervision for minors, greater transparency in the casting process, and comprehensive education for both parents and young performers. Most importantly, they call for cultural accountability world where the industry can no longer look the other way. In many ways, An Open Secret was ahead of its time, anticipating the powerful movements that would later sweep through Hollywood and other industries, demanding an end to systemic abuse. An Open Secret offers no easy answers or simple resolutions. It doesn't end with every predator brought to justice. Instead, it serves as a stark and necessary call to action. It asks us, the viewers, to confront uncomfortable realities about fame, power, and the devastating cost of silence. It is a powerful plea to listen to survivors, to heed the warnings, and to face the truth, especially when it's inconvenient, because secrecy is the lifeblood of abuse, and speaking out, bearing witness, is the very first step toward justice. Thank you for watching. If you found this summary important, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into documentaries that matter.